Coming up on Network Africa. The DRC and M23 rebels engage in a new round of talks in Doha, Qatar. The Ivorian Independent Electoral Commission closes candidacy submission in the upcoming presidential poll, having received over 50 submissions plus. Russia hints at building a nuclear power plant in Niger. Thanks for joining us on the program. I'm Amarachi Ubani. Let's begin in Doha, Qatar, where representatives of the Rwanda-backed M23 rebels are holding talks with representatives of the Democratic Republic of Congo. Both sides are hoping to reach an agreement on how to implement a Qatari-brokered truce that they signed last month. This latest round of talks focus on a draft proposal put forward by Qatar for a three-phase peace process. Qatar's foreign ministry said it involves plans to create a mechanism for monitoring the truce as well as an exchange of prisoners. They say the current discussions include plans to create a mechanism for monitoring the truce as well as the exchange of prisoners and detainees, adding that the United States and the international community in the International Committee of the Red Cross are closely involved in supporting the talks. But Belgium's foreign minister told reporters on Tuesday that DRC's president, Félix Tshisekedi, had already expressed his dissatisfaction with the text. The Congolese government and M23 accuse each other of violating a ceasefire. Meanwhile, the devastating fire has swept through a community in the DRC. The blaze in Bukavu, east of the country, spread through homes with thick smoke billowing as locals try to put it out. One eyewitness says the situation is serious as some people have no one to help them. They're all calling for solidarity within the community, emphasizing the lack of space as the cause of the widespread damage. The fire reportedly started in the afternoon, according to eyewitnesses. There were no firefighting vehicles available to help contain the blaze. President Hassan Mohamud and four key leaders have signed an agreement ahead of concerns regarding its forthcoming elections. This is in Somalia. That agreement, finalized on August 25th, outlines the framework for the country's electoral process, as well as the adoption of a new electoral law by Parliament in October last year, which establishes universal suffrage for the 2026 elections. That agreement, finalized on August 25th, outlines the framework for the country's electoral process, as well as the adoption of the law by Parliament in October last year. And we are warming up to the presidential elections in Côte d'Ivoire. Electoral body, the Independent Electoral Commission, has closed its candidacy submission process, having received over 50 applications for the October poll. Reports say candidacies from key figures representing major political parties made the deadline. Incumbent President Alassane Ouattara submitted his bid for the ruling rally of Houphouëtis for Democracy and Peace. He was joined by former Prime Minister Pascal Affi N'Guessan of the Ivorian Popular Front and former First Lady Simone Gbagbo of the Movement of Capable Generations. In a significant development, the leadership of the Democratic Party of Côte d'Ivoire submitted a file for Tidjane Thiam, while the Party of African Peoples Côte d'Ivoire submitted one for former President Laurent Gbagbo. This comes despite the fact that neither name appeared on the final electoral list published by the IEC in June, indicating that their parties are proceeding without a confirmed Plan B. The IEC now has 3 days to forward all submitted files to the Constitutional Court to verify the eligibility of each candidate and the validity of their collected sponsorships. And one of the presidential aspirants in the election, Dr. Usman Kamara, has pulled out of the running, citing irregularities with the submission process. Kamara had announced his candidacy back in April this year as an alternative for the people of Côte d'Ivoire. He joins me now from the capital, Abidjan, to explain why he is pulling out of the race. Dr. Kamara, thank you for joining us on the program today.
Good afternoon, Amarachi. Thank you for inviting me.
Wanted to get your feel on this. You had announced in April you will be running for president. You will announce your political party. You promised Ivorians an alternative, but today you're not on the list of 50 people who have submitted their candidacy. Have you been sidelined by the IEC?
No, I've not been sidelined, so to speak, but technically I would say so, because the Electoral Commission is not giving a fair chance to people to really submit, and they have created a lot of barriers. For instance, we're asked to provide about 35,000 to 45,000 signatures in the Ivory Coast here. And the machine that they give you for you to go and get the signatures and confirm to get them guaranteed to the system, over 100 machines that we received, less than 10 machines were working, and they're working like 1 out of 10 people, you have to restart the machine. So at the end of the day, you have to chop all the machines and do the sponsoring manually. But once you do that, you have no guarantee that your signatures will be taken into account. They can be cancelled through a process that you have no take on. Then, based on that, you can be disqualified. So finally, we collected 53,480 signatures throughout the country for 35,000 that were asked. But at the end of the day, as we see the process going and other problems happening between the Electoral Commission, there is a lack of trust between us. So we decided to pull out and focus on another target, which is the legislative election coming very soon in December.
But to be clear, you are no longer running for president. You're no longer in the running in the election, but you are sponsoring and supporting other candidates who are in this election.
No, I'm sponsoring no one. We just pulled out. Our party, the ANG, is no longer part of the presidential process. But since they have brought forward the parliamentary election that was supposed to take place next year, but they brought it to, they set it for December 27th. So there is a time like is lapping over the presidential campaign. So we have decided, instead of us wasting resources and time in this process, which is not clear and which does not assure us, we prefer to focus on the parliamentary election so that we can go there and start making the changes from there.
I was wondering, current President Alassane Ouattara is 83 years old. He has indicated interest to run in this election. His name made the list of 50, over 50 submitted to the IEC. He's quite old to be in politics. I mean, it's a tedious process having to do the campaigns and go from place to place, encouraging Ivorians to come out and vote. Do you think that he's choosing to stay in the race because he wants to? I know that some time ago, in one of the previous elections, he had said Ivorians want him to run. I think he said it again, as he announced his candidacy in this election, that Ivorians want him to run. But he's 83 years old. What sort of support is he receiving from Ivorians?
Who he calls Ivorians in reality his own political partisan, so which is normal. The partisans will always want you to run. But at the end of the day, you have lost. You have a constitution that has to be respected. And now he's running for a fourth term when the constitution is calling only for a limit of 2 terms. But that is not the only problem. The main problem issue here is that a few years ago, they changed a few lines in the constitution so that the vice president is not anymore elected along with the president. So we suspect that Mr. Alassane Ouattara is running this time around because he's popular against the constitution just to win, so he can hand over the power to a vice president who would not be elected by the Ivorian people. So we might end up in a few months with someone running the country up to 2030, someone who has not been voted in by the Ivorians because they changed the constitution to make that happen. So this is for us the only reason he's running today.
Interesting times ahead for Cote d'Ivoire. Dr. Hamara, thank you for speaking with us and do stay safe.
Thank you, Amaraj.
In other news now, the UN Human Rights Office has called for accountability for the killing of Palestinian journalists in the occupied Gaza Strip. Spokesperson Tamim Al-Kitan says the killing of the journalists has to stop and that the agency has received and documented attacks on journalists which are unacceptable.
We call on Egyptian authorities to put an end to the practice known as rotation, which allows government critics to be held arbitrarily and for prolonged periods, even after serving their sentences or completing maximum pretrial detention. Human rights defenders, activists, lawyers, journalists, peaceful protesters, and political opponents have been targeted by this rotation practice. It entails the authorities bringing new charges against individuals who are about to complete their prison sentences or who reach the maximum legal period of pretrial detention, thus preventing their release. Most of those targeted by rotation should not have been detained in the first place, as the charges brought against them are often related to the exercise of their legitimate rights to freedom of expression and peaceful assembly. It has become a tool by which the Egyptian government represses those perceived to be critical of its policies. The Egyptian government must immediately stop this practice of rotation and release all those who were subjected to it. All those arbitrarily detained for exercising their fundamental freedoms or defending human rights must be released immediately.
Herero communities in South Africa have celebrated their annual culture and festival as leaders prepared for a legal fight to force Germany to take full responsibility for genocide in the early 1900s. The legal action is set to take place in Namibia's courts on October 7, with leaders challenging the National Assembly following the latest deal with Germany. The Herero and Nama genocide from 1904 to 1908 saw up to 100,000 Herero and 10,000 Nama killed by German colonial forces with atrocities, including concentration camps and human experimentation. In recent years, however, Germany formally recognized it as a genocide and pledged 1.1 billion euros in development aid to be delivered across 30 years.
In the first place, Oganja resembles a place of resistance against the foreign occupational forces. We celebrate the heroes and the heroines that stood firm when the Germans wanted to take over the country.
It's a way of getting healing because our people went to other places in the world. So come here and come to know your family and get healing from the atrocities committed by the German people.
The extermination order declared by von Trotter was very clear that he is no longer to spare any Herero life, whether it's a child or a woman or a man. It went to an extent that he poisoned water so that even if they drink water, they will die.
What was committed against our people, against my people, one would not want to imagine that to be done on any other nation. Yeah. The German government and Germany in general, they must put us in a place where we would have been if they did not commit those atrocities against our people. And it's not just in terms of monetary, it's in terms of healing inside, because without healing, we cannot move forward.
Just a correction there. The Herero communities are in Namibia in southern Africa. We're still ahead on the program. One Ghanaian startup is providing sustainability to the country's period poverty and health. Stay with us.
We live in an era of massive innovation, true ideas that
Welcome back. The fourth edition of the Intra-African Trade Fair, or IATF, is expected to generate around $4 billion in investment across Africa. That's according to Algerian ambassador to South Africa, Mr. Ali Ashul. He made the remarks in Pretoria. The fair is scheduled to take place next month in Algiers. Our correspondent, Innocent Samosa, has more.
At the Algerian embassy in Pretoria, Ambassador Ali Achouil outlined Algeria's preparations to host the fourth Intra-African Trade Fair, saying the event is set to reshape continental trade and unlocking multi-billion-dollar opportunities.
Inter-African Trade Forum will be a very good and very big event because it will reunite almost 40,000 participants, 4,000 exhibitors, and it will generate almost $4 billion contract between the businessmen and from all Africa region. And I think it will be a very good occasion for the Africans to meet, to exchange their experiences.
Ambassador Achouil also reflected on the current state of relations between Algeria and South Africa, highlighting areas where new opportunities for cooperation could emerge.
We have now a new law of investment in the mining sector, which where South Africa is very excellent in this field. We can get from or learn from there about their experiences. They can help us. And they have also many other fields where we can exchange, for example, energy, electricity, high education, health, many. I think we are working together, and I have in this take this opportunity to thank our South African authorities for their help and support in my mission.
Ambassador Ali Achouil has described the event as more than a gathering. He says that this is a step in the right direction in transforming economies of African nations. He spoke, of course, about issues around economic growth and, of course, industrialization in the continent. From Pretoria, South Africa, Innocent Samosa, Channels Television News.
Senegal's President Bassirou Diomaye Faye is in France today, where it is hoped both countries can smoothen relations between them. President Faye held talks with President Emmanuel Macron over breakfast at the Champs-Élysées. The meeting comes weeks after France closed the last of its military bases in Senegal. It brought an end to more than 6 decades of permanent presence in the country by the former colonial ruler and follows similar withdrawals across the region. Dakar and Paris both insist, however, that this does not mean an end to security ties between the two countries. Faye had requested the departure of the French troops following his victory in the 2024 elections. He wants Paris to apologize for colonial atrocities, including the 1944 massacre by French troops of Senegalese soldiers who had fought for the Allies in World War II. Russia's been tinkering with plans to establish a nuclear power plant in Niger. Niger, rich in uranium, has historically exported the metal for further refining in France, but that's changing as the military-led country cuts off ties with its former colonial power. The uranium mining operation operated by French nuclear group Orano was nationalized in June, which cleared the way for Russia to put itself forward as a new partner. Now it's talking about power generation and medical applications, with a focus on training local expertise under a cooperation agreement signed between Russian state corporation, Rosatom, and the Nigerian authorities. Now, if all works out, this would be the first nuclear power project in West Africa. President Bola Tinubu has pledged to fast-track Nigeria's development through technology and food security, aligning with the success models of emerging economies like Brazil. He was speaking during a meeting with a cross-section of Nigerians resident in Brazil. President Tinubu emphasized his administration's commitment to transformation through innovation, reform, and inclusive growth. He described his visit to Brazil as a strategic move to deepen bilateral ties and draw inspiration from the impressive development trajectory of the South American country, noting that both nations once shared similar economic starting points. Commending the vibrant Nigerian diaspora community, President Tinubu urged them to see themselves as key stakeholders in building a new Nigeria rooted in innovation, culture, and shared responsibility. He appealed passionately for Nigerians, both at home and in the diaspora, to foster unity, peace, and passion to develop a Nigeria everyone can be proud to call home. Speaking of Nigerians in the diaspora, Peter Adeleke, a Nigerian-born leadership coach, hopes to win a Guinness World Record for embarking on a 48-hour leadership lesson to be held in Calgary, Canada. The marathon session, which runs from August 29th to 31st, aims to surpass the current record of 24 hours, with Adeleke targeting a minimum of 30 hours and a maximum of 48 hours. The event, which will take place at 451 North Mount Drive, Northwest Calgary, is structured into 4-hour learning sessions that run continuously, and participants are free to join or exit at any time. Attendance is set to be free, with free feeding also provided to in-person participants. Adeleke says this is not about breaking a world record, but changing the narratives of leadership for today and for tomorrow. Back here in this part of the continent, a Ghanaian socially driven startup is fighting period poverty and plastic waste with biodegradable sanitary pads, an initiative that gained popularity following enrollment in the UNICEF Startup Lab in early this year. Located in Tamale, workers are seen collecting plantain and banana stems, boiling the extracted fiber, and packing the final product for distribution. In its products, the company uses cost-effective paper from banana fibers and biodegradable eco-friendly plastics, which are seen as a sustainable alternative that does not harm the environment.
Kodu Technology decided to embark on this journey because we realized that young women face a lot of challenges when it comes to their menses. Young girls leave school, some even drop out at a very tender age. Being a lady myself and having to experience such, not just the dropouts, but the experience of pain, inability to afford menstrual products at a certain point, I realized that there is a need for us to do something. My team came together to form a startup that could produce sanitary pads to young girls in the rural areas. Aside solving the problem, we realized that there's another problem that arose from the solution, which had to do with plastics. So we had to devise a way to solve two problems at the same time: solving period poverty, at the same time protecting the environment and atmosphere. We needed something sustainable. We first embarked on producing paper from banana fibers, which we realized that it could absorb very well. Hence, we used it as our absorbent core in the production of our sanitary pads, and also to reduce plastic waste. We use biodegradable, eco-friendly plastics as our leak-proof barrier.
And as we end the program, did you know that Angola has more Portuguese speakers than Portugal? Angola, a former Portuguese colony in southern Africa, now has more Portuguese speakers than Portugal itself, with over 37.89 million Angolans using Portuguese as a first or second language. The country has become one of the world's largest Lusophone nations, that is, the Portuguese-speaking world, surpassing Portugal's own population of over 10.8 million people. What was once a colonial language has now become a unifying force in Angola's diverse cultural landscape. And now you know. That's Network Africa. Thanks for watching.